Hi everybody, and welcome back to a special episode of Final Fantasy VI. This episode is going to focus more on espers. Primarily what each one is about, a more detailed look all in one episode. So, we are going to go through all of the espers that we have, with the exception of Odin though. Just because, we had to sacrifice him in order to get Raiden and his quick ability. So it was a justified swap. But, nonetheless, we're going to get along, go on with this, go on with the show and all that fun stuff. So anyways, to start things off, we are going to start with Rayma. Rayma, Odin, Siren, and Stray. So first off, Rayma, he was actually one of the first espers that you receive. Being at the, city of Zozo, when you're on the search for Terra. But, he's one of the first espers that you receive. He's obviously a lightning-based esper, doing lightning elemental attacks. And at level up, he gives you a stamina increase +1. He teaches Bolt at a rate of 10. Bolt 2 at a rate of 2 times, and Poison at 5 times the rate. Very interesting, essential, I would say, for the beginning, and very beneficial with the addition of Bolt 2. Odin, also I think another one that you obtain in Zozo. Forgive me if I'm incorrect on that, but basically, it's a curative esper. Its main attack is to gradually recover HP. No bonuses when you level up, but it teaches a cure at 5 times the rate, cure 2 at 1 time, so not too bad, but definitely better espers out there. Regen at 3 times, Antidote or Antot at 4 times the rate, and Scan at 5 times. So, another very beneficial esper to be getting so early in the game. Teaches you a good stock of spells, especially restorative spells. Siren, it casts silence on all the enemies. It can be okay, but not something I'm really big into. So it's a esper I don't really cast very often. Teaches sleep at 10 times this learning rate, which is really great. Mute at 8 times, Slow at 7 times, and Fire at 6 times. So I believe that makes a much better addition. I think that's better than Ifrit, if I'm not mistaken. And at level up, you do gain HP times 10%, or plus 10%, which is really nice. And if you want to level someone up and build up their HP a little bit, Siren's definitely a nice choice early on in the game. Only costs 16 MP to cast. Rayma is 25, Odin is 18, and Stray 28 MP to cast. It confuses enemies if used in battle. It teaches Muddle at 7 times the rate, Imp at 5 times, and Float at 2 times the rate. And at level up, it does Magic Power +1. Not too bad, but nothing I really stress too much. Let's see, Ifrit. So Siren does... Ifrit does teach it much better than Siren does. Ifrit, as you would very well know, is a fire elemental esper, so its attack is fire-based. Teaches Fire at 10 times the rate, Fire 2 at 5 times the rate, and Drain at 1 times. And I believe it's the only esper that does teach Drain, so it can be awfully draining to learn this spell. Corny joke, but nonetheless, at a level up, Strength goes up by +1. Now, if only they had an a better esper that had, taught the ability Drain at a better rate, it would be so much better, but you take what you can get, right? And it takes 26 MP to cast. Now Shiva, who you meet at the Magitech factory along with Ifrit, costs 1 additional MP at 27, and as you might have guessed, Ice Elemental, so its attacks are ice-based. It teaches Ice at 10 times the rate, Ice 2 at 5 times, Rasp at 4 times the rate, Osmos at 4 times, and Cure at 3 times the rate. Which is nice, especially for the Osmos and the Cure spell. Very nice additions, but you know, overall a very solid Esper. The only downside is that it doesn't have any bonuses upon leveling up. Sad to say. Unicorn, which costs 30 MP, casts Remedy on the party. Nice if you're fighting like some enemy that does like a lot of status attacks and all that unpleasant stuff. But anyways, it teaches Cure 2 at 4 times the rate, Remedy at 3 times, Dispel at 2 times, Safe and Shell at 1 times the rate. And no bonuses upon leveling up, so it's very nice for learning a good stock of curative spells, but other than that, not very useful in terms of like getting any bonuses. Meduin, Terra's father as it turns out, costs 44 MP to cast in battle, and it teaches Fire 2, Ice 2, and Bolt 2 at 3 times the rate, and at level up it increases magic power by +1. And I found this Esper to be very useful for learning a lot of the more powerful offensive magic spells at a pretty useful part of the game. Definitely one I always turn to a lot. Shout, 45 MP. Off the top of my head, I can't recall where I obtained Shout from. I'm thinking that we obtained them from the Magicite factory. And this guy teaches Bio at 8 times the rate, Break 5 times, and Doom at 2 times the rate. So very interesting Esper to say the least. More on instant death more than anything else, but you know, I think it'd only be useful against random battle enemies like weaklings rather than like the stronger stuff. Not really high up on my list of Espers to use for just casting. And you know, the spells are okay. I don't count on these sort of spells very much. But at level up, you do get HP plus 10%, which is pretty nice if you're looking for an HP boost. Phantom, which has been very useful throughout the LP, makes the party invisible. So, you know, a lot of benefits towards that, especially on the floating continent I found. It teaches Berserk at 3 times the rate, Vanish at 3 times, and Demi at 5 times the rate. The spells are so-so, Vanish being my favorite out of the whole sort. At level up, MP goes up by plus 10%. So, a nice benefit. A very useful Esper at certain points if you're fighting just physical-based enemies, rather than those who use magic. Very useful. Carbuncle. Another one obtained at the Magicite factory, I believe. You just obtained a lot of Magicite at that point. It's kind of ridiculous, but what he does is, well, it casts Reflect on the party, and this is more the well-known Espers, I think, from this point on, because you do see Carbuncle a lot. You know, one I remember is from the Cydia. You do see him a bit. And what this guy does is, well, obviously teaches Reflect at 5 times the rate, Haste at 3 times, Shells, Safe, and Warp at 2 times the rate. No bonuses for leveling up, but overall a pretty useful Esper for learning a lot of protective spells. A good stock of them at that. And it costs 36 to cast them. Now Bismarck, Water Elemental attack, so water-based Esper. He's kind of Meduin in that he teaches the more basic level offensive attacks, but with the addition of life, which is kind of something out of left field, but rather nice though. So Fire, Ice, and Bolt are taught at 20% or 20 times the rate. Immensely useful if you just want to teach your party members all, the basic fire, ice, and bolt spells, immediately. Life is also very useful. At level up, strength goes up by +2. So overall, a pretty solid Esper. One I would use mid-game to like level up. Golem. You obtain this guy from the auction house, I believe. Yeah, I believe so. You obtain xXCyzarXx and Golem from the auction house. Golem casts Protect on the party. It teaches Save, Stop, and Cure 2 at 5 times the rate. And at level up, Stamina goes up by +2. Nice and very useful in times when you're fighting some really heavy hitters. It costs 33 MP to cast, while xXCyzarXx casts at 30 MP. It casts Shell on the party, teaches Rasp at 20 times the rate, Osmos at 15 times the rate, and Shell at 5 times. And at level up, magic power goes up by +2. It's nice, but you'll definitely have moments in the game where you'll find its skills useful. Seraphim. I can't recall where I obtained this guy exactly, but what it does do in battle is recovers HP, and it's much like Keating in that it has a staple of restorative magic spells, such as Life at 5 times the rate, Cure 2 at 8 times, Cure at 20 times, Regen at 10 times, and Remedy at ×4 the rate. No bonuses upon leveling up, I think much like Keating does. Am I right? Yeah. So it's kind of like that Esper. And let's see, next is Pallador, where you obtain in the Solitude, the Solitary Island, I think it's called, where Sealy starts at the beginning of the World of Ruin, where Sed also resides in. But if you go to the beach later on in the game, you will see this Magicite lying there. All set to obtain, conveniently enough. And what it teaches, or once you cast it, all the party members use Jump Attack, essentially. Not too bad, but I don't know, I've kind of been disappointed by the jump command as a whole. I found it better in Final Fantasy IV, to be honest. What it does teach is that haste and slow at 20%. I mean, 20 times the rate. Why do I keep saying percent? But anyways, haste 2, slow 2 are taught at 2 times the rate, and float at 5 times. No bonuses, but it's worth getting haste, slow, and their second form of it. Float is also pretty nice. And no, I did not want to do that. There we go. So Fenrir, it pretty much was the name of the spell. It does multiple images of the party, so it's able to absorb hits, at least for a couple times before party members start taking damage from physical attacks. Very nice. It's a nice defensive move. Fenrir, he teaches Warp at 10 times, X Zone at 5 times, and Stop at 3 times. I believe Fenrir is the only one that teaches X Zone. And at level up, MP is increased by +30%. Nothing to bark at. Tritok, or Tritouch. I don't know, you can have many ways to say this, but essentially its attacks are threefold. It has Ice, Fire, and Lightning. And it teaches, as you would expect, Fire 3, Ice 3, and Bolt 3 at 1 times the learning rate. So it takes a while to obtain these spells, but still definitely well worth it. At level up, magic power is increased by +2. Much like Meduin and Bismarck, I believe. Pretty solid Esper, despite the fact that you have to wait a while to obtain the spells, sadly. See, next on the list is Terato. He is an earth element or earth-based Esper. He teaches Quake, Quarter, and Whirlwind. Quake at 3 times the learning rate and 1 times for Quarter and Whirlwind. I'm not a fan of this spell because it attacks your party members as well. But at level up, HP is increased by plus 30%, so it's pretty nice if you want to boost up a party member's HP. Now Starlet, a very important Esper, costs 74 MP to cast, but it recovers HP like a couple other Espers we've seen so far. This one teaches you some very beneficial curative spells, such as Cure at 25%, 25 times. I'm going to keep saying percent, I swear. Cure 2 at 16 and Cure 3 at 1%. There I go again. 1 times the rate. So you get all cure spells at your disposal here. Regen and Remedy at 20 times the rate. And at level up, Stamina goes up by plus 2. So if you want to learn the cure spells in a correct manner, this would be the Esper to use it for. With the exception of Cure 3, we have a better Esper for that. Alexander, who you encounter when you're at during Siren's dream sequence. You obtain him after you defeat Rexol. And this is a holy based Esper. A mystic purity attack or holy attack. It teaches you Pearl, which is like white in Final Fantasy IV or holy. You learn at 2 times the learning rate. Shell, Safe, and Dispel at 10 times, and Remedy at 15 times. Useful Esper for its holy base damage and Pearl, but other than that, nothing much else going on with it. Phoenix, you obtain this while obtaining Locke in your party. After you go through his whole storyline, you do obtain the Esper Phoenix, and it costs 110 MP to cast. And it recovers battle statuses. I guess it means like status effects during battle. I think it also casts Revive. I'm not sure about that though. It teaches you Life, Life 2, and Life 3, which is the biggest draw for this Esper, including Cure 3 at 2 times the rate, better than Starlet. Life is taught at 10 times the rate, 2 times the rate for Life 2, 1 for Life 3, and Fire 3 is taught at 3 times, which is pretty nice if you're looking for a way to teach someone the strongest fire spell at a quicker rate. And no, I did not want to do that. Let's see, Odin, you know, we don't have him because we transformed him into Raiden, but he teaches Meteor at 1 times their learning rate. So, and his attack when cast in battle is oh god, what is it called? I forgot at the moment, but it's pretty much the instant kill that always misses. At least in my case, it does. But moving on, Bahamut, the granddaddy of them all, I would say. You obtain this after defeating Doomgaze. When you're, you know, going out and about in the skies with your ship and hopefully encountering him. He costs 86 MP to cast, and his attack cuts through magic defenses, very useful, and he teaches Flare at 2 times the rate, definitely worth the wait, and at level up, HP is increased by plus 50%, very useful, as you would expect. Ragnarok, you obtain this in Nourish in the World of Ruin, and you are given the option to obtain Ragnarok as the Magicite or as the sword. As the Magicite, he turns the enemy into an item, therefore being only 6 MP to cast, but he teaches Ultima at 1 times the learning rate. If you opted for the sword, as long as it's equipped on the character, they learn Ultima at 1 times the learning rate. So, it's your choice what you would want to go for. Crusader. That was obtained by defeating all 8 legendary dragons. And you obtain him, if you choose to, in Kefka's tower after defeating the Skull Dragon and the Gold Dragon that reside there. But for your efforts, you obtain a pain-in-the-ass Esper who, if you cast in battle, attacks you and the enemy. It's kind of a dickish thing, but at 96 MP, you really risk it, I would say. He teaches Morton at 1 times the learning rate and Meteor at 10 times. And at level up, MP is increased by plus 50%. Nice, and you'll see him in action soon enough. Now for Raiden, who is the evolved form of Odin to use Pokemon terms, he slices through enemies much like Odin does. And he teaches Quick rather than Meteor, but at 1 times the learning rate. And at level up, strength is increased by plus 2. Now, let's go through showing off these espers. So I will cut back when I'm gonna. You know what? No, forget it. Let's just keep doing this. So let's show off all these espers in action now. Gloom Shell. All right, so let's see. Stray. Cat Rain is its ability's attack, and as you can guess, it did pretty much nothing. Now Rayma does thunder-based damage. Siren casts Silence, and Stray was supposed to do Muddle on the enemies, if I remember correctly. But Kirin does restorative. He casts Regen essentially. And Hope Song, Siren's attack. It casts Silence on all the enemies. You know, useful depending. But I will cut back to the next battle when with the next bunch of espers, okay? Alright, and we're back. Now we're showing off the next 4 espers that we have in the lineup. Meduin, which is, you know, Terra's father. I believe it's fire-based. As you can see here, pretty intimidating if you ask me. Hopefully I don't kill these guys, because these guys are all pretty hard hitters. See, and this is Unicorn. Inferno for Ifrit. And as you can see, very nice indeed. And Gem Dust for Shiva. Ice-based attack. Not bad, but pretty cool looking, right? And now I'll be right back with the next bunch. Alright, now for the next bunch, which is, Prussian and a Gloom Shell. Alright, so, first on the list is Bismarck. He does the water-based damage, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty, good damage. And, now for Phantom, his Fader attack, which casts Invis on everybody, or Vanish I should say. And for Shout's Demon Eye, casts Petrify on all the enemies, but will it work? No, it never does. And for Carbuncle, which does Ruby Power, or Reflect on all your party members. And I'll be back with the next set. Alright, so now with the next set of espers that we have, we are going to show off Pallador for later, how about? Zone Seek, Rail, which just casts Protect on all of our guys. No, actually it's Shell. My apologies. Swap him. Reviver. See, what does he do? Recovers HP, I believe? Yeah. Looks like Cure too. But now for Golem, cast Protect or Safe on all our party members. And for Pallador now, last of the group here, he casts, well, the jump ability. Why aren't you going, Sabin? But yeah, as you can see, Golem is absorbing the attacks, which is pretty neat. But I'll be back with the next bunch. Well, once these guys come down, I guess. There we go, that's showing off enough. And I am back here. I don't know how many times I've said that so far, but you know. Let's see. First on the list is Starlet. Terato. Fenner, Terato, and there we go. Tritok. Starlet, as you see, I think it did Cure 3. Terato with its Earth-based attack, Moon Song, just going to pretty much create multiple images of our characters so they can absorb hits easier. And Tridazer, which is a mix of Ice, Fire, and Bolt, as you can see right here. Pretty good. Now I'll be back with the next bunch. Alright, and here we are. Let's see, now next on the list is Ragnarok. At 6 MP, it has a chance to change an enemy into an item, in this case, a green cherry. So we obtained that item. Interesting, indeed. Alexander with his holy-based attack, Justice. Phoenix, hopefully this doesn't kill them all in one go, but man, look at that majestic castle-looking thing. Oh, that definitely killed him. I'll be right back. Okay, given everything goes as planned, this should be the last go at this. I don't think I showed off Phoenix yet. But Phoenix has its rebirth attack, which I believe does heal? I don't know, it did something my guys were resisting, which is funny, but nonetheless. Oh god, no. Let's try out Raiden. He's going to miss, possibly, with his True Edge attack. And oh my god, look at his fury. Okay, he killed him in one go. Good job. Alright, hopefully these guys are resistant to attacks, or they can at least handle it. Crusader we're going to save for last, just because he's a mean mofo. But let's use Bahamut here with his Sun Flare. Cuts through magic defenses. These guys don't really stand a chance, so I think I have one more battle to go. Oh, they survived. So now we get to finish off this episode with Crusader. God help us all. Purifier. This is nasty. So yeah, you have 3 guys here, and holy shit. And my god, look at that damage. You see that? But that essentially wraps up this special episode that's focused towards the Espers. I hope you've enjoyed. Sayonara, people.